All right, so welcome to I think day 8 of my Lsat training. This is Tony again coming at you, and I'm just giving a daily report on my Lsat course with Lsat Max. I did actually make a little document here, and I just didn't grab it up. Where in the world is that thing? Did I not? Well, I thought I made some points to go through today. I just want to go real quick here. So I got, as you can see here, a 64%. I was on sufficient and necessary conditions. Here's my calendar. The last 2 days I did these two things. I did the video lesson, the significant, sufficient and necessary conditions, and then it's missing premise drills, argument completion drills, and then the questions. And the questions are what actually took me to 2 days. I just went slowly through them methodically, trying to discover all the things that I did wrong, and then it looks like you're supposed to spend a day in review. I probably spent several hours in review, including I'm thinking maybe they were expecting us to go through the questions one by one, like timed, and then or just kind of like go through the questions and then come back and look at the ones you got wrong. But I learn better if I got something wrong, tell me now how I got it wrong so that I don't do it again. So I don't know how that was supposed to be arranged, but that's what I did. And I'm going to move on to quantifiers today. But I did want to reveal that I got 64%. I did start kind of picking up a little bit at the end. Let's see if I can get the questions open here. Here we go. So you can see it's kind of like 50-50 here, reds and greens. And then my efforts yesterday are from question 31 to question 50. So I did quite a bit better. So let's see, out of 19, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wrong. So what's that? 6 out of 19. I got a calculator around here somewhere. Let's see, so 13 out of 19. It's still 68%. Not like loads and far and above better, but I guess I'd have to anyway. Whatever. I felt better about yesterday. I felt better. I felt that I sort of getting a grasp on it. And in addition, there's a gentleman who does these office hours courses by the name of Thomas. Let me get him out here. Let's see what I watched. That's him. This is Thomas, but
It is currently.
this is not the guy this is not the course that I watched. I watched one on sufficient and necessary conditions, and he's like a military sergeant, this guy. So he's got a very good way of communicating. It worked for me. I went ahead and took some notes at the end of my sufficient and necessary conditions based on his presentation. And what was very important for me was he talked about when to diagram, because as you were going through the questions on the course, then you let's see, where are those questions? Oh, they're in all. Right. So as you're going through the questions, you're just kind of, there's a timer up here, but you're kind of just doing them, and you're diagramming each and everything. I'm diagramming the stimulus, and I'm diagramming each and every answer to find out which one matches best. And so one of his points was how to help you save time on that, because you're not going to have time to diagram them all, probably. And so he talked about that. He talked about significant and necessary with quantifiers. That's my deal today, is with quantifiers. So I'm going to now be able to add that to the arsenal. Hopefully do better with sufficient and necessary conditions once I add that skill on there. And then this was probably the most informative, or the part that made the most money for me as far as like the use of time. He talked about confusing sufficient for necessary and confusing necessary for sufficient. Necessary for sufficient here. Oops. So that was the heading of the deal, and then we have here confusing necessary for sufficient, and then confusing sufficient for necessary there. This was going through this with him. I don't know if it was just a point in time for me, like that, I finally had heard it enough to where it started getting through. But what I did is on his examples of confusing sufficient for necessary, he gives this example. What I did for it is I actually just wrote out exactly what the process of thinking was that made these incorrect reasoning. So I'll just give a for instance here. He says his example is, to get approved, you must have signed the form. You didn't get approved, therefore you didn't sign the form. We start out with number one. Premise number one is it is sufficient for being approved if you sign the form, but it is necessary to sign the form for you to be approved. Right? So the next premise is you did not get approved, and therefore you didn't sign the form. So that's invalid reasoning, because not getting approved is the contrapositive of the sufficient case, which means that it would look something like this. I don't know if I still have that. Oh, okay. I need to have my symbol, my negation symbol here. Okay, so it would look like contrapositive would look like, assign form. Sorry for the delay here. Okay, so if you get approved, then you signed the form. And then the contrapositive would be, if you did not sign the form, then you cannot be approved. Goodness, I don't know why I need to copy this thing here. So the contrapositive of the first premise is basically you reverse and negate. So reverse the order and negate them. So we can see that not signing the form is not sufficient. Not getting approved is not the sufficient case to guarantee that you did not sign the form. However, the only thing we can deduce from these premises is that if you get approved, we know you signed the form. Not getting approved does not give us anything to make an inference from, because nothing can be guaranteed by not signing the form. And that's because that is the contrapositive of the sufficient case, which makes it the necessary case in the contrapositive. And the necessary case provides no value from a standpoint of inference. And so when I wrote that out for myself, when I said here, not getting approved is not sufficient to guarantee that I did not sign the form, right? Because it's the necessary case, not the sufficient case. So this is a flawed contrapositive. The contrapositive requires that we both negate and reverse. Thus, not getting approved is now the necessary condition for which not signing the form is sufficient. So if you don't sign the form, then we know that you won't get approved. But if you didn't get approved, we don't know that you didn't sign the form. Anyway, going through all that for me, obviously I'm a verbal processor. Hopefully this is helping you. It's definitely helping me. And so when I verbally processed that by typing it out and thinking it through, I think it like a light turned on in my head. So I feel a lot more confident. And I did that for all the rest of the examples that he gave. This one was a big one. I just really, I'm the reason for page limits on essays in school because I'm the guy that writes a lot. and I may not say much, but I heard myself. So anyway, all that to say, I'm happy with where I'm at now. I'm happy with the way LSAT Max is going. Today I go for quantifiers, and we'll see if I get to any must be true deal, and see where I'm at. I've one thing I did want to mention here before I get off is that I noticed in the questions that as I was doing this, put this over here, as I was doing the last 30 questions or the last 20 questions yesterday, was it? Yeah, yesterday, I started to notice that some of the questions don't have the little explanation at the top. Like this one doesn't have it. 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 It's really frustrating when I don't have an explanation when I got it wrong. So some of the ones that I got wrong, such as 36 here, did not have a question and a video explanation. Now they explain it verbally, writing here, and that's great. But the video explanation is far more helpful for me to watch somebody go through and diagram it, because it's what you need to do. I suppose you're not going to be doing a lot of that on the actual LSAT. I know you're going to do some of it, but anyway, all that to say that I am now going to do some quantifiers. I wish they would have had video explanations for all of these, because I watched every one that was available. I watched and diagrammed along with, and I'm learning a lot that way. So I don't know if Blueprint's like that, Julio, but LSAT Max has that availability, or that available, and I don't know if Blueprint has videos for all their questions or none of them or some of them. That'd be interesting to know. And so have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching, and crush the LSAT.